Disrespect. It's subtle sometimes. A look, a smirk, a word wrapped in sarcasm. Other times, it's loud. Direct confrontation, public humiliation, backhanded compliments that slice deeper than outright insults. Most people react to disrespect with one of two things: anger or submission. They either lash out in a way that gives their power away, or shrink back in silence, wounded and smaller. But not the Sigma male. No. The Sigma has a different blueprint entirely. One that isn't reactive, one that thrives on internal control. In the world of dominance hierarchies and endless ego games, the Sigma plays by a rulebook no one else is even reading from. When a Sigma male is disrespected, his first response is not to speak, it's to observe. Most people confuse silence with weakness. But in the Sigma's case, silence is data collection. It's strategy. It's the pause before the punch, the calm before the storm. He watches how people move, how their tone shifts, what they avoid. He doesn't need to react in the moment because he understands that emotional reactivity is the playground of the insecure. Instead, he rewires the game by refusing to play it. Disrespect doesn't knock him off center because his center doesn't rely on external validation in the first place. One of the core strategies of the Sigma is the power of indifference. Unlike the Alpha, who thrives on dominance, or the Beta, who craves acceptance, the Sigma moves in silence. When someone tries to bait him, insult him, provoke him, the Sigma doesn't give them the satisfaction. Because the moment you respond emotionally, you're signaling to the world that the other person has power over you, that they can affect your inner state. A Sigma knows this. That's why his greatest weapon is emotional detachment. It's not that he doesn't feel, he just doesn't feel obligated to respond. You see, the Sigma doesn't seek revenge through words or even through direct confrontation. He uses results. He lets his lifestyle become the ultimate rebuttal. Someone doubts his potential? He doesn't argue. He disappears and builds. Someone mocks his ambition? He goes silent, then outperforms every expectation. That's the Sigma code. Let your evolution make the noise. Let your discipline serve as retaliation. The Sigma is not loud. He's consistent. And nothing makes the disrespectful more uncomfortable than someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't fume, someone who doesn't even acknowledge them as worthy of reaction. But don't mistake that silence for weakness. If pushed too far, the Sigma male will respond, not emotionally, but surgically. He'll remove people from his circle like a surgeon cuts away infection. No drama, no scenes, just distance. Cold, absolute, and final. The Sigma doesn't try to change people. He changes the room he's in. If the energy becomes toxic, he exits. If someone consistently undermines him, he disappears from their life without a word. That's the Sigma exit strategy. He lets absence speak where words would only cheapen the message. Another key strategy the Sigma uses when dealing with disrespect is reframing. Instead of internalizing insults or letting them pierce his identity, he evaluates the source. Is this person projecting? Are they threatened? Insecure? Seeking control? The Sigma understands that most disrespect says more about the one giving it than the one receiving it. So, instead of absorbing negativity, he reflects it. He mentally classifies it. He uses it as intel. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every insult deserves your time. The Sigma chooses his wars carefully, because energy is currency, and he doesn't spend it on clowns. The Sigma also weaponizes success in silence. When someone disrespects him, he doesn't campaign for his worth. He doesn't argue about his value. He lets time reveal what his words never could. And over time, those who mocked him either vanish into irrelevance or become silent observers of the man they once doubted. That's the paradox. The more a Sigma pulls back from proving himself, the more undeniable he becomes. Respect is never demanded. It's commanded through alignment, through consistency, through the quiet intensity of someone who knows who he is, even when no one else does. There's also a deeper layer here, the Sigma's psychological detachment. He's not detached from emotion itself, but from the need for emotional permission. Disrespect doesn't destabilize him because he doesn't seek permission to exist. That's what separates him. He doesn't need to be liked, approved of, or even noticed. That lack of need becomes a shield. Most manipulation thrives on people needing something. Attention, affirmation, acceptance. The Sigma needs none of that. So you can't guilt him. You can't shame him. You can't provoke what doesn't rely on you in the first place. And finally, perhaps the most powerful Sigma strategy is building silently while being underestimated. Disrespect to him becomes a tool, a motivator. Not because he needs to prove anyone wrong, but because it reminds him how far he can go without the noise of applause or recognition. The Sigma doesn't climb to be seen. He climbs because the view is better at the top, and because the silence up there matches his internal peace. But here's the part no one really talks about: the inner mind games that Sigma males play, not with others, but with themselves. Because dealing with disrespect isn't just about mastering the world outside. It's about confronting the shadows within. See, the Sigma isn't immune to hurt. He's not some robotic being who doesn't feel anything. In fact, what makes him dangerous is that he does feel, but he processes it differently. He doesn't act out of impulse. He acts out of alignment. Every disrespectful moment he encounters gets filtered through a cold, clear lens. Is this worth my energy, my time, my identity? And 9 out of 10 times, it's not. That's when the Sigma turns inward and uses a strategy few even know how to access: stoic recalibration. He uses disrespect as a check-in, not a trigger. Instead of erupting or defending himself, he steps back. He watches how his ego tries to flare up. He studies that flicker of rage or hurt, like a scientist observing a chemical reaction. Because he knows that real power isn't just in dominating others, it's in mastering himself. The Sigma doesn't suppress emotions. He disarms them, converts them into clarity. That's the game most people never learn to play. And yet, one of his sharpest strategies might be the one that seems the softest: radical silence. When the world expects a reaction, when people poke and prod, when disrespect is hurled like bait, he just doesn't bite. Silence isn't passive, it's loaded. And when a Sigma uses it, it becomes a mirror. The person who disrespected him is suddenly left alone with their own behavior. No argument to distract them. No drama to shift the focus. Just the uncomfortable echo of their own insecurity. That's when the disrespect starts to reveal itself. Not as power, but as weakness. And the Sigma never had to lift a finger. Still, not every battle can be avoided. So when confrontation is unavoidable, the Sigma doesn't fight loud. He fights smart. He uses psychological contrast, holding his own behavior like a standard others get measured against. If someone's trying to belittle him, he doesn't stoop down. He stays calm, controlled, measured. And suddenly, their aggression looks childish. Their sarcasm looks petty. Their energy looks chaotic. The Sigma uses composure as a weapon. He doesn't just respond with dignity, he exposes their lack of it. This ties into another tool in his arsenal: strategic withdrawal. If a situation turns toxic, the Sigma doesn't waste time proving himself. He leaves, not out of weakness, but out of evolution. He doesn't tolerate places, people, or environments that demand he shrink to survive. He removes himself so he can expand elsewhere. His motto? If disrespect costs me my peace, it's too expensive. And once he walks, he rarely looks back. Because to the Sigma, walking away is not a failure. It's a filter. Every step away from disrespect is a step deeper into alignment with who he truly is. But there's something else, something even more lethal in his strategy. The Sigma knows that the ultimate revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success. It's becoming so undeniably grounded, self-sufficient, and elevated that no insult can touch you. The Sigma turns disrespect into rocket fuel, into more discipline, more focus, more detachment. He doesn't show you he's unbothered. He becomes unbothered. He doesn't just survive disrespect, he transcends it. And in doing so, he creates a life where people who tried to belittle him become irrelevant footnotes in his story. Still, many wonder, what happens if the disrespect comes from someone close? A friend, a partner, a family member? That's when the Sigma applies his deepest filter, value audit. He asks, is this person bringing more peace or more poison into my life? And if it's the latter, he doesn't hesitate. Emotional history, blood ties, nostalgia, they don't excuse disrespect. The Sigma male knows, Love without respect is manipulation in disguise. He doesn't fight to hold on to people who casually violate his boundaries. He lets go, not with anger, but with finality. He can miss you, but still not need you. He can care, but still choose himself. That's not cold, that's clarity. And while most people seek validation from the crowd, the Sigma seeks something else: self-confirmation. He doesn't need applause to know he's doing the right thing. He doesn't need likes, retweets, or approval to feel seen. Because he's built something rare, an internal compass that doesn't lie. That compass tells him when someone is disrespecting his worth. And it also tells him when to rise above it, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. His path is lonely, yes, but it's also liberated. And in that liberation, the Sigma unlocks his final strategy: legacy over ego. He doesn't react to every slight because he's too busy building something bigger than the moment. Whether it's a business, a body of work, or just a life of deep peace, he's not here for petty battles. He's here for long-term impact, and he knows that every second spent reacting to small-minded people is a second stolen from his purpose. So he lets it go. Not because they were right, but because they were never important enough to stop him. This is the Sigma's true strategy. Not domination, not retaliation, but elevation. He doesn't deal with disrespect in the ways we've been taught. He doesn't yell. He doesn't prove. He doesn't shrink. He observes. He redirects. He rises. Because at the end of the day, the Sigma male doesn't want control over others. He wants control over himself. And once he has that, there's not a single insult, a single critic, a single coward disguised as a friend that can touch him. So now you know, the Sigma male doesn't just react to disrespect. He transforms it. He turns chaos into clarity, insults into insight, and pain into power. Because when you stop needing validation and start living in alignment with who you really are, disrespect loses all its weight. You stop fighting for attention and start building a life so focused, so intentional, that the noise just fades into the background. And if you've made it this far, maybe it's because there's a Sigma inside you too, waiting to be awakened. If this resonated with you, don't just leave it here. Subscribe to the channel. Join the movement. Because we're not here to be liked. We're here to be legendary. And trust me, this is only the beginning.